The battle was over. Smoke drifted through the broken halls of the alien fortress. Human Private Daniel Cross sat on the cold metal floor, his wrists bound by glowing chains that hummed softly. Around him stood towering alien guards, their armor glistening with scars of war. They had not killed him. That meant only one thing. Someone important wanted to see him. Daniel was marched through high doors carved with strange alien runes. The air was heavy with a strange perfume, sharp and metallic, almost like iron. At the end of the grand chamber sat the alien Warlord herself. She was nothing like Daniel expected. The Warlord was tall, her skin marked with patterns like living silver. Her eyes glowed faint gold in the dim light. She wore no helmet, only a crown-like crest that curved behind her head. Every movement she made was calm but dangerous, like a predator that knew it could kill at any moment. Her soldiers bowed deeply before her. Daniel stood there, trying not to shake. He had heard of her before. Commander Serix, the Iron Flame. A warlord feared across half the galaxy, who had crushed empires larger than Earth's young fleet. Now she studied him as though he were some unusual animal that had wandered into her throne room. One of her guards spoke. "Warlord, we captured this human alive. He fought until the last of his unit fell. We thought you might want to see him." Her golden eyes moved over Daniel slowly, like she was reading a book only she could understand. Then she rose from her throne, walking toward him with steady steps. "You are human," she said at last, her voice deep and smooth, carrying the weight of command. "I have heard whispers of your kind. Fragile bodies, yet impossible spirits." Daniel forced himself to swallow and stand straighter. If this was the end, he wouldn't beg. That wasn't the human way. So instead, he did something very stupid. Trying to break the silence, trying to mask his fear with humor, he smirked. "Well, you know, you'd make a cute wife." The words slipped out before he could stop them. The guard stiffened. The air grew thick. He expected a blade through his chest, or at least a sharp order to cut out his tongue. But instead, the Warlord stopped. Her head tilted slightly as though the joke had caught her off guard. Then slowly her lips curved into something no one in the room expected. A smile. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't mocking. It was dangerous because it was real. "You think so?" she asked softly. Daniel blinked. Yeah?" Her smile deepened. She stepped closer, so close that he had to tilt his head back to meet her golden eyes. For a moment, the chains on his wrists felt heavier. "You have spirit," she whispered almost to herself. Then she turned her gaze to her guards. "Leave us." The guards hesitated. One of them started to protest. "Warlord, now," she ordered. The chamber emptied, the heavy doors slamming shut. Daniel's heart hammered in his chest. He was alone with the most feared warlord in this sector of the galaxy. She moved past him and, with a graceful flick of her wrist, locked the chamber door herself. The sound of the seal echoed in the silence. Daniel tried to laugh nervously. "I was joking, you know." The warlord turned back toward him, her golden eyes glowing brighter. "So was I." She tilted her head, her smile never fading. "But sometimes jokes carry more truth than we expect." Daniel's throat went dry. "Right." She circled him slowly, studying him from every angle. It wasn't the look of a predator about to strike. It was something stranger, something calculating. "You do not kneel," she observed. "You do not beg. Even now when your fate rests in my hands." Daniel shrugged, trying to look braver than he felt. "Begging's not really our style. If you're going to kill me, might as well get it over with. If not, well, I'm already chained up, not much I can do." She laughed, a low, musical sound that sent a shiver down his spine. So bold. Humans truly are unlike any species. "I have conquered." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Conquered, huh? That's a funny way of saying hello." Her smile grew sharper, like a blade hidden in silk. "Perhaps. But perhaps this is the beginning of something more." Unusual. Daniel didn't like the way she said that. What do you mean? He asked carefully. The warlord leaned closer, so close he could see the strange silver patterns on her skin glowing faintly, pulsing like living veins of light. You will see, she murmured. For now, you are mine. Not as a prisoner, but as something far more interesting. Daniel's heart thumped in his chest. He had no idea what he had just gotten himself into. He remembered the joke that started it all, just a throwaway line meant to ease tension. You'd make a cute wife. Now, standing face to face with the alien warlord who had locked the door behind them, Daniel realized with a sinking feeling that maybe, just maybe, she had taken him seriously. And for the first time since the battle ended, he wasn't sure if that was better or far worse. Daniel stood still, the glowing chains heavy on his wrists. The alien warlord's golden eyes never left him. She had locked the chamber doors, and the silence stretched long between them. He tried to stay calm, but inside his mind was racing. She finally broke the silence. Do you know why I did not kill you, human? Daniel gave a nervous shrug. Because I'm too funny to waste? Her lips curved again, that strange smile returning. Because you are different. My people fight, conquer, and break, but you joke, even when facing death. No other creature does that. Daniel didn't know if she meant it as a compliment or an insult. He chose to play along. Well, humor's kind of our survival skill. If you can laugh at trouble, you can get through it. The warlord tilted her head as if she were weighing every word. Interesting. Perhaps that is why humans survive on a death world. Daniel frowned. You know about Earth? More than you think, she said. Your world is wild, hostile, yet it produces beings who refuse to bow. That fascinates me. She circled him slowly, her presence heavy, her movements graceful. I have crushed empires with armies 10 times stronger than yours. Yet I have never seen soldiers fight like humans. Even broken, even dying, you refuse to yield. You amuse me. Daniel blinked. Glad I could be entertaining. But usually people just buy a ticket to a comedy show instead. That laugh came. Again, smooth and dangerous. No, you will not be entertainment. You will be something else. Daniel raised his brow. Such as? The warlord stopped right in front of him, standing tall, her golden eyes glowing brighter. A partner, an advisor, perhaps even the role you joked about. Daniel's mouth went dry. Wait, you mean the wife thing? That was a joke. Her smile only widened. Perhaps, but many truths hide in jokes. Daniel shook his head. Quickly. Hold on, you can't be serious. I'm a soldier, not a... He paused, unsure what to even call it. Not a throne ornament. The warlord didn't look offended. Instead, she leaned closer, her voice lowering to a calm whisper. You misunderstand. I do not want decoration. I want something rare, someone who does not fear me, someone who will speak truth, even when others tremble. That is why I locked the door, human, to give you a choice. Daniel blinked again. Choice doesn't feel much like one. You can stay as a prisoner of war, she explained, her tone still smooth but now edged with command. Or you can remain here, at my side, not as a slave, but as something far more valuable. Daniel let out a sharp laugh. Oh, great. So my options are jail cell or alien consort. That's not exactly what I was trained for. She raised one silver-marked brow. And yet you hesitate. That means part of you is curious. Daniel hated that she was right. A part of him was curious. Why him? Why would a warlord, feared across star systems, even care about a lone soldier who happened to crack a dumb joke? He tried to stall. What exactly would you even want me to do? You've got an empire. I'm just one guy. You will do what no one else dares. She answered simply. Tell me the truth. Show me the human way. I have power, but I do not have... Perspective. You offer that. Daniel stared at her, unsure if she was mad or brilliant. Finally, he said, "You know, humans don't exactly mix well with conquerors. We like freedom. We like our choices. That's why I fought in the first place." Her smile faded, but her gaze grew more intense. "And that is exactly why I want you. Power without challenge grows weak. I seek strength that comes from opposition. You will not bow easily, and that makes you useful." Daniel muttered under his breath. "Useful? Great. I've always wanted to be useful to an alien overlord." The warlord didn't seem to notice his sarcasm, or maybe she did, and enjoyed it. She stepped back slightly and touched a panel on the wall. The glowing chains around his wrists clicked and vanished, dissolving into thin air. Daniel rubbed his wrists slowly, staring at her. "So, I'm free?" "Free," she said, her voice steady. "But not safe. Not unless you decide." Daniel hesitated. Part of him wanted to shout that he wanted nothing to do with her empire, that he wanted to go home. But another part whispered that this was a chance, maybe the only chance, to learn, to survive, and maybe even influence things from the inside. The warlord's golden eyes watched him carefully. Well, human? Prisoner? Or something greater? He met her gaze and forced a crooked smile. "You're not making this easy, are you?" She gave the faintest laugh. "Nothing worth having is easy." Daniel sighed and shook his head. "Fine. I'll play along, but let's be clear. If I'm going to be your advisor or whatever, I get to speak my mind. I don't do yes, warlord, every time." Her smile returned, sharp and satisfied. "Good, that is exactly what I want." Daniel suddenly realized the door was still locked. He was free of the he. Daniel walked carefully through the corridors of the alien fortress. The walls shimmered with strange lights, pulsing like the fortress itself was alive. He was free of the glowing chains, but he was still very much a guest, or perhaps a test in the warlord's court. Every step he took seemed watched by invisible eyes. Commander Syrinx, the alien warlord, moved beside him, her golden eyes scanning the hallways. She walked with calm authority, and Daniel had to suppress a nervous shiver. He had survived combat, alien fire, and near-certain death, but walking beside her felt like balancing on the edge of a blade. "You will dine with my advisors tonight," Syrinx said, her voice smooth. "They will be curious about you. Some may test you, others may try to undermine you. You must learn quickly." Daniel blinked. "Test me, like, with weapons? Or?" She smiled faintly. "No, with words. They are intelligent, devious. You will need both caution and courage," Daniel exhaled. "Great. I survived battle, now I get a verbal ambush. Perfect." She ignored his sarcasm. "You will learn quickly. Or the consequences may be worse than chains." He nodded, trying not to flinch. The hallway ended at a large dining hall. It was enormous, with tables carved from black stone, set with glowing vessels of food. Aliens of many shapes and sizes sat quietly, their eyes turning toward him as he entered. The hum of curiosity was thick. Daniel swallowed nervously. He had never been the center of attention like this, not even on Earth. And certainly not among beings who could crush him with a single thought. Syrinx gestured for him to sit. "Do not be afraid, speak truth. Your human way will be tested, but it is also valued." Daniel slid into a seat opposite a tall alien with sharp horns curling from the head. The alien stared at him with cold suspicion. "You survived the battle," the alien said. "Why?" Daniel shrugged, trying to appear casual. "Luck, probably. Or bad aim on your side. Maybe both." The horned alien blinked once, then frowned. "Do not joke. War is no game." Daniel held up his hands. "Relax. I'm not mocking. Just trying to survive your intimidation techniques. They're impressive, by the way." Syrinx's golden gaze followed him, and she gave a small nod. Daniel realized that she was allowing him to navigate this hall in his own way. His humor, his honesty, it was part of the test. Other aliens leaned forward, whispering to each other. Some frowned, others smiled. It was clear Daniel's presence was unusual, not because he was human, but because he was unafraid to speak as himself. That seemed almost unheard of here. The meal began, strange foods floating in midair on lighted plates. Daniel tried a glowing fruit, careful not to choke. The horned alien glared at him. "You eat poorly." "I eat like a human," Daniel replied. "We survive all kinds of food, some of it disgusting, some of it questionable, and some of it pretty good." The aliens exchanged looks, their curiosity growing. Daniel realized he was slowly earning their attention, not through strength but through something strange and unpredictable: confidence and humor. One smaller alien, with 4 delicate arms, leaned closer. "You dare speak to Syrinx freely." "Why?" Daniel smiled wryly. "Because I don't really have a choice. She locked me in her chamber, smiled at me, and apparently decided I'm worth something. I figure honesty is my best bet." The smaller alien whispered something to a companion, and both shook their heads. Daniel had no idea what they said, but he sensed approval. Syrinx finally spoke, her voice ringing over the low hum of the hall. "You will remain here, human, not as a prisoner but as a participant in our court. You will see our ways, and we will see yours. Some of you will resist. Some will adapt. That is the balance of strength." Daniel swallowed. "So, I'm basically on probation? Or a guest, or what exactly?" "Both," she said simply. "And more. You are here because you are human. That is rare enough to matter. But you will need to prove your value in ways. More than survival, you will need to show wisdom, courage, and perspective." Daniel leaned back. "Perspective, huh? Guess I better start thinking like a warlord then. Or maybe I should just keep being human. That seems to work too." The warlord's golden eyes glimmered, and she gave a small, approving nod. "Do not try to be anything but what you are. That is what makes you useful." Dinner ended without further conflict, but the tension lingered. Daniel noticed how Syrinx's advisors glanced at him with suspicion and admiration at the same time. He realized something important. They were testing him, but they were also watching him learn. Later, as he was escorted to a small chamber, he finally let out a long breath. "Okay," he muttered to himself. "This is insane, but maybe I can do this." Syrinx appeared in the doorway. "You will not be alone, human. Others will test you. But you will survive if you remain honest and true to yourself." Daniel chuckled quietly. "Honest and true, huh? That sounds easier said than done around a bunch of aliens who can crush me with one thought." Her smile returned. "Then you will need both courage and cleverness. That is why I chose you." He sat on the edge of his bed, thinking over the events of the day. From a simple joke in a warlord's chamber to dining with alien commanders, Daniel realized that being human in this court was strange, but perhaps exactly what was needed. For the first time, he felt a spark of purpose. He was no longer just a survivor. He was part of something bigger, something that required more than strength. It required his mind, his humor, and his courage. And perhaps, just perhaps, that joke about a cute wife was not the worst decision he had ever made. He looked out the small window of his chamber. The alien fortress stretched into the night, glowing with strange lights. The galaxy beyond was dangerous, but Daniel Cross felt ready. Because even in a world of golden-eyed warlords and suspicious advisors, being human might be the greatest advantage of all. The next morning, Daniel awoke to the sound of a soft chime echoing through his chamber. His wrists were free, but the sense of expectation weighed heavier than any chain. He dressed quickly, the alien garments awkward and stiff, and followed a guard through the shimmering corridors. He had been told today was the proving ground. Daniel had no idea what that meant, but Syrinx had emphasized it several times last night. "You will show your value today. Your human way will be tested." The corridor opened into a vast training arena. Its floor was smooth black metal, and, Glowing symbols hovered in midair, marking zones and targets. Aliens of all shapes filled the stands, murmuring to each other. This was no ordinary test. This was public. Sarek stood at the center, her golden eyes scanning the assembled aliens. She motioned Daniel forward. You will demonstrate your mind and your courage. The methods are yours. The outcome is not merely victory, but understanding. Daniel swallowed. His first instinct was to ask for clarification. Instead, he took a deep breath and stepped into the arena. Across from him, 3 alien warriors emerged. They were tall and powerful, their armor gleaming in the light. Their expressions were unreadable, but Daniel felt the weight of centuries of training in their stance. Your task, Sarek announced, is to survive and adapt. You may fight, but fighting is not required. Outsmart them, outlast them, or demonstrate your value in another way. Show us the human way. Daniel's stomach twisted. Outwit them. He had survived firefights, explosions, and alien soldiers before, but these were Sarek's chosen warriors. They would have instincts, strength, and skills beyond anything he had faced. He backed up slowly, watching their movements. The arena hummed, sensing the tension. One warrior charged, muscles rippling. Daniel rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the blow. He stumbled, then got back to his feet. Okay. Running's an option, he muttered. Another warrior leapt at him, claws extended. Daniel ducked and grabbed a loose panel from the edge of the arena. With a quick flick, he sent it spinning toward the attacker, creating a brief distraction. The alien hesitated, surprised. Daniel grinned. Improvisation. That's human. Sarek watched from her platform above, her golden eyes bright with curiosity. Daniel could feel her presence even from the distance, as if she were reading his every move. He noticed something. The warriors moved predictably, relying on brute strength and repetition. Daniel had something they did not. Unpredictability. He darted toward a low wall and leapt, rolling behind it. One warrior swung a heavy arm, missing him by inches. Daniel snatched a glowing rod from the floor and held it defensively. Think. Humans adapt, he muttered under his breath. The battle continued, each move testing his reflexes and his ability to improvise. Daniel realized something important. He didn't need to beat them by strength. He needed to survive, mislead, and create openings. One warrior lunged, aiming to trap him in a corner. Daniel ran in the opposite direction, grabbed a floating control panel and hurled it. It spun, hit the arena's edge, and sent a sudden burst of light across the floor. The warriors blinked, temporarily disoriented. Daniel seized the moment. He ran toward the center, dodging attacks, and tapped a symbol on the floor that activated a defensive field. A glowing barrier rose around him, blocking further assaults. He stood inside, chest heaving, sweat on his brow. The audience murmured, impressed. Even the warriors paused, studying him. Sarek's voice echoed across the arena. Interesting. You do not merely survive. You adapt. You observe. You manipulate circumstances. That is the human way. Daniel swallowed hard. He had survived, but more than that, he had proven something. Not. The fortress shook as alarms echoed through the corridors. Daniel had been resting after the proving ground, trying to catch a moment's sleep, when the first warning lights flashed. Red streaks bathed the walls, and the air was filled with the low hum of approaching ships. Sarek appeared at the doorway of his chamber, her golden eyes sharp and commanding. A rival faction has launched an attack, she said. They aim to overthrow me and take control of the outer sectors. You will fight beside me, human. Not as a soldier alone, but as an advisor. Your skills, and your human perspective, may turn the tide. Daniel swallowed. He had survived alien warriors, public scrutiny, and deadly tests, but now he was being asked to join a full-scale battle. Right. So survive the proving ground, survive the dinner table, and now survive a war? Got it. Sarek gave him a small, approving smile. Do not underestimate this enemy. They have strength and cunning, But neither has your adaptability. That is why you are here. Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on him. He followed Syrinx through the corridors to the command center, where holographic maps floated in the air. Alien officers crowded the room, each radiating tension and doubt. One of the commanders, a massive creature with armored skin, stepped forward. "Warlord, we do not need this human. He is untested in real battle." Syrinx turned, her eyes flashing. Gold. "And yet he survived the proving ground, outwitted my warriors, and gained their respect. You underestimate what he brings. Human cunning is not to be ignored." Daniel felt every gaze on him. They were skeptical, yet their curiosity was undeniable. He swallowed and stepped forward. "Look," he said, trying to sound confident. "I might be human, but humans have survived worse. If you give me a chance, I'll show you how our thinking can make a difference," the commanders muttered among themselves. Syrinx nodded at him. "Prepare the fleet. We strike before they breach the inner sectors." The human heart of strategy, Daniel's mind, kicked in. He scanned the holographic map, noticing the enemy's fleet formation. Their ships were heavily armed in the front, but their flanks were lightly guarded. "If we feint in the center, draw them forward, and strike the sides, we can trap them," he suggested. Syrinx studied him. "A risky plan, but it uses your unpredictability. I approve." The alien officers reluctantly moved to implement it, their faces tight with disbelief. Daniel realized that sometimes fear of the unknown slowed even the best warriors. Humans, however, thrived on improvisation. Hours later, Daniel stood beside Syrinx on the command deck, watching as the battle unfolded. The enemy charged, expecting a frontal clash. Daniel held his breath, waiting for the moment to execute his plan. At the right moment, he signaled the flanking ships. Syrinx's fleet shifted quickly, striking from the sides. The enemy faltered, their heavy frontline ships trapped and exposed. Explosions rippled through space as the tide turned. Daniel's mind raced, predicting enemy maneuvers, adjusting strategies, in real time. Syrinx observed silently, her expression unreadable, but her golden eyes reflected growing approval. "Human thinking," she murmured. "It is unpredictable, effective, necessary." As the battle raged, Daniel noticed a small group of enemy ships breaking formation, attempting to flank Syrinx directly. He pointed it out to her. "If we don't intercept them, they'll hit your flagship." Syrinx nodded and deployed a squadron under Daniel's guidance. The maneuver succeeded, the enemy's flank collapsing under combined human strategy and alien strength. Hours later, the battlefield fell silent. The rival faction's fleet was in retreat, their forces scattered and broken. Syrinx stood on the command deck, surveying the aftermath. She turned to Daniel. "You have done well," she said, her voice calm but carrying weight. "You were not just a human among aliens. You were a partner in battle. Your insight, courage, and adaptability saved lives and secured my position." Daniel exhaled, exhaustion and relief washing over him. "I didn't do it alone. Your fleet, your tactics, your orders, all of that mattered too." Syrinx smiled faintly. "Perhaps. But you were the element they did not expect. The unknown factor. That is often more powerful than brute strength." Daniel looked around the command room. The alien commanders who had doubted him now gave him nods of acknowledgement. Some even offered small gestures of respect. It was clear that he had earned his place, not just through survival, but by proving the value of being human in an alien world. That night, as the fortress quieted, Syrinx walked beside Daniel through the glowing corridors. "You have proven yourself in battle, but remember this. The galaxy will not forget your actions. Many will underestimate humans again, and many will regret it. Today was only the beginning." Daniel nodded. "I'm starting to get used to this. But don't think I'm going soft on you. I'll still make jokes when it's safe. Or maybe even when it's not." Syrinx's lips curved into her faint approving smile. Humor in the midst of war, That is truly human, and it is why you remain by my side. Daniel felt a strange sense of pride. He had started as a prisoner, a joke in a warlord's chamber. Now, he was a participant in shaping the outcome of a battle that could have destroyed the sector. As they reached his quarters, he looked out the window at the stars. Explosions and fire still glowed in the distance, but the battle was won. He thought of Earth, of the soldiers he had lost, and of the humor and courage that had carried him this far. Being human, he realized, was more than survival. It was unpredictability, cleverness, and heart. And in a galaxy that valued strength above all else, being human was a force no one could ignore. Syrinx placed her hand briefly on his shoulder. Rest, human. Tomorrow, we will continue to shape the future, and remember, I chose you because you are not just a survivor, you are a human. That is power. Daniel exhaled, letting the weight of the day fade. For the first time, he understood the truth in her words. Humans were underestimated everywhere, and that was exactly why they could change everything. He smiled to himself. The warlord's smile, the battle's victory, and the acknowledgement of his human way all came together. He was no longer a joke, a prisoner, or just a soldier. He was part of something greater, a force that even the galaxy had not yet realized. The fortress was calm again. The alarms had ceased and the enemy fleet was long gone. Daniel stood on the balcony of the command tower, looking out at the alien city below. Lights shimmered across the landscape, reflecting on towers and bridges that seemed alive with energy. The war had ended, but its effects lingered in the tension between factions and the whispers of those who had doubted him. Syrinx joined him, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. She did not speak immediately. Instead, she observed him, as she had from the first day he stepped into her chamber. You have changed things, she said finally, her voice calm yet firm. Your human way, the humor, the courage, the unpredictability, has reshaped how my people see strength. You were not meant to fight like us. You were meant to think, to act differently, and you succeeded. Daniel scratched the back of his neck. I didn't do it for recognition. Honestly, I was mostly trying to survive. Her smile was small but approving. And yet, survival alone does not explain your impact. You influenced decisions, altered outcomes, and earned respect where most humans would have been dismissed. That is why you are here. Daniel looked at her, realizing that she meant every word. He had started as a prisoner, a joke, an accidental visitor in a warlord's court. Now he was recognized as an ally, and even more than that, a trusted presence. Trust me, Warlord, he said with a half-smile. I never thought I'd end up here shaping galactic events, let alone standing beside someone as powerful as you. Syrinx tilted her head, studying him. You said something on our first meeting, a joke. You'd make a cute wife. It was foolish, yet it revealed something about you. Courage, humor, and honesty. Traits my people rarely see. That was the first step toward this. The human spirit is remarkable, Daniel Cross. Daniel felt a warmth that surprised him. The warlord's words were sincere, not the hollow praise he had once expected from allies or superiors. So, I guess that joke wasn't a total disaster, huh? She let out a low chuckle. No, it was the spark. Sometimes small things reveal much more than we anticipate. Daniel laughed quietly, shaking his head. I guess I've learned that humans can survive almost anything, even a golden-eyed warlord with a taste for testing people. Syrinx's eyes glimmered with amusement. And yet your survival is more than endurance, it is proof of human adaptability. You faced every trial, every scrutiny, and every battle with your mind and spirit intact. That is what makes humans formidable. Daniel felt the weight of her words. He had never thought of himself, or his species, in that way. On Earth, humans were often underestimated, seen as fragile and weak, and yet here in the heart of an alien empire, he had proven that human qualities, creativity, humor, courage, and perseverance could influence outcomes on a galactic scale. Thank you, he said softly, for seeing me as more than a prisoner. Syrinx's gaze softened, her smile returning. I do not see you as a prisoner. I see you as necessary, and in that, you hold power, a rare kind that my empire has not often encountered. Others may doubt, but you are human, and that is enough to change perspectives. Daniel looked out at the city again. He realized how far he had come. From a captured soldier, he had grown into a trusted presence, a